Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's day 12 for another live meditation session. I'm Zainab and I'm really happy to be here. Tonight we will be exploring grounding like a tree. I don't know, this probably was not visible to you, but the past 12 days there has been I have been alternating between awareness practices and compassion practices. So basically cooler practices where we build up our awareness and warmer practices where we build up our compassion and our heart qualities. And so tonight's practice is going to be on the warmer side where we build up our grounding and our compassion and strength. And I would like to start by a quote from Ram Dass, who is a senior mindfulness meditation teacher who passed away recently, actually. And one of these little teachings he has been really captivating and helpful for me. So he says, when you go out into the woods and you look at trees, you see all these different trees. And some of them are bent and some of them are straight. And some of them are evergreens and some of them are whatever. And you look at the tree and you allow it. You see why it is the way it is. You sort of understand that it didn't get enough light and so it turned that way. And you don't get all emotional about it. You just allow it. You appreciate the tree. The minute you get near humans, you lose all that and you are constantly saying, you are to this, I am to this. And the judging or the judgment mind comes in. And so I practice turning people into trees, which means appreciating them just the way they are. And this little bit of teaching has been very helpful for me in the way I relate to people, considering that they are trees or practicing turning them into trees. And tonight what we will do is turning ourselves into trees, kind of finding in ourselves those qualities of a tree, of a really big old tree. I saw this funny post on Instagram the other day, it might have been today, where it's an account called Dogs Working From Home, which is really fitting right now because so many of us are working from home. And it was this photograph of a dog with glasses and a human sweater kind of turned away from a computer. And the caption was, that bit between Christmas and New Year where you don't know what day it is, who you are, and what you're supposed to be doing, but it's just midweek in March 2020. And I think a lot of us are feeling really unsettled or floating or disorganized these days. And when we need some grounding, we usually turn to animals like dogs and cats, and rarely we turn to plants. But plants have this beautiful, mysterious quality to them, and we can find actually a lot of strength in them. The other day I also saw a beautiful image, a Buddha doodle. I don't know if you have been following them, but this image of a girl sitting next to a tree, where the girl has this wind coming across her, and she's kind of swaying with the wind, and the tree is as well. But the tree has deep roots in the ground, and so the tree is not unrooted, it's really stable. And the quote is a quote by Jean de La Fontaine, where it says, I bend, but I do not break. So from trees, we can really learn this quality of bending and adapting without breaking. And I recently read this book called The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wohlleben. This beautiful book that really illuminates us on so many things we may not know about forests and trees. And I want to share with you 3 ideas from this book that are applicable to the practice we will do in a minute, but also I think interesting for us to know and kind of ask ourselves this question of what can we learn from trees? So the first idea is how trees use their energy. And the author says they budget their strength carefully and they must be economical with energy so that they can meet all their needs. They expand some energy growing. They must lengthen their branches and widen the diameter of their trunks to support their increasing weight. They also hold some energy in reserve so that they can react immediately and activate defensive compounds in their leaves and bark if they come across insects or fungi. And then they also spend some energy in reproduction and making more trees. And so this sense that they really have so much going in their systems and they are very wise in how much energy they put into what. And I think one thing we can ask from this is how can we be wise and economical in the way we are spending our energy, especially these days. One thing I have learned in therapy many years ago is this idea that a bit like the fuel tank of a car, we all have things that give us energy and things that take energy from us. And so especially if we are going through a difficult time where we feel like a lot of energy is taken from us, then what we need to do is to be wise and do more of those things that give us energy so that we can make sure that we have fuel at all times. The second idea from the book is how trees are in community, and actually they are really in support of each other in a forest. So the author says a tree can be only as strong as the forest that surrounds it. And the idea is that even the strong trees are depending on the weaker ones when they get sick. Their well-being depends on their community, and when the supposedly feeble trees disappear, the others lose as well. When that happens, the forest is no longer a single closed unit. Hot sun and swirling winds can now penetrate the forest floor and disrupt the moist, cold, cool climate. And so even the strong trees get sick a lot over the course of their lives. And when this happens, they depend on the weaker neighbors for support. And I think what we can take away here is two things. First, how are we, especially right now, supporting the weaker ones in our communities, the healthcare professionals, the older or the more vulnerable individuals in our communities? And also this sense of even if we have privilege, even if we are strong, we will be impacted as well. So how can we have compassion for ourselves? And how can we depend on others, or how can we ask for support and reach out and be compassionate toward ourselves, even if we are the stronger ones in the community? And finally, the author also talks about how trees communicate with each other, how they have a language, and really how they have friendships and love. And he says, the trees don't want to take anything away from each other, and so they develop sturdy branches only at the outer edges of their crowns. That is to say, only in the direction of non-friends, because he explains there are some trees that are naturally harmful to others, or there's some level of competition between them. And so such partners, where they are friends and partners, are often so tightly connected at the roots that sometimes they even die together. And here, what my takeaway has been this question of how can we strengthen our partnerships in this time, especially how can we deepen them, how can we nourish them so that they feed us back in return. So with that, we will now go into our practice, which will be about 10 minutes, and we will explore this idea. We will do a bit of anchoring and finding presence first, and then we will go into exploring this visual of a big old tree and what is there for you to learn from that. So I invite you to find a posture in which you feel awake and relaxed. And you can close your eyes. Or if that doesn't feel good, you can lower your gaze. And you can begin by taking a few deep breaths. You can lengthen the breath, really slow down the breathing to invite in some relaxation into the body. Each time you exhale, releasing any tension that isn't needed. And then inhaling again, deeply all the way to your belly. And then exhaling again, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the face, the hands. You can bring a kind attention to any sounds you may be hearing in this moment. Sounds that are near or far. Listening to sounds that may be coming from your own body. And then you can get curious about the sensation of smell, noticing if you smell anything. As well as taste, noticing if there's any lingering taste in your mouth. Then bringing a kind and curious attention to the sensation of touch. Noticing your feet on the ground, or if you're sitting on the floor, the parts of your body that are touching the ground. The textures and the temperatures of this touch. Noticing your hands and what your hands are touching, and the qualities of this touch. As well as the air that's surrounding your body. And the qualities of this touch. And I'm taking a moment here and asking yourself, what will help you find a simple and kind presence in this moment? Maybe a few more deep breaths. Maybe relaxing the body a little bit more to feel more awake. Or maybe a moment of self-compassion if there is any difficulty in this moment. Just acknowledging that, reminding yourself it's human and normal, and then giving a kind response to it. And from here, we will now envision a big old tree. This might be a tree that you've seen before. Maybe one of those really big and really old ones that look mighty and mysterious. Or it might be a tree that you are envisioning. And so you might notice in your mind's eye how this tree is grounded in the earth. Noticing all the roots of it that you can see, that splits into small tendrils at the ends. Holding on to the soil and rocks under your feet. And so you might picture yourself standing next to this tree and looking at the roots. And then you might also picture yourself looking up and noticing the length, the tallness of the tree. The branches, the leaves that go up into the sky and widen up and open up in the crown. And you might notice also the powerful trunk that may be wide and big, with the bark and the skin of the tree, the lines and the creases that tell you that this tree is old, and how this trunk is standing up straight and tall. And you might notice how this tree has probably survived storms and turbulent winds, torrential rains, heavy snow, lots of different weather conditions. Standing for many, many years, maybe hundreds of years, bending and not breaking. Aging beautifully and becoming wiser, and witnessing the world around it. And now, taking this tree as example, you might bring the attention back to your own body, to your head, and doing a quick body scan from your head to your feet. You might imagine all the anxiety, worry, tension draining away from your body, all the way down to your feet and to your roots. If you were to imagine that you also have roots that go down into the depths of the earth. So imagining that through your feet you are connected, rooted and steady. And imagining this sense of letting go of all the tension, the worry, the anxiety, as your feet and your body touch the ground. Letting it go back to Mother Earth. You might also feel, just like a tree, yourself standing tall, Your branches extending out to the vast sky, beautifully dancing in the wind. And how in the springtime, just like now, you might be blossoming or flowering with your leaves green and with your many different colors. And so you might explore this sense of opening up and growing taller while you are still grounded. With the passing of the seasons, renewing yourself each and every time. And in the last moments of this practice, you can ask yourself, what is the wisdom in you telling you about how you spend your energy? What gives you energy? What takes away energy? And how you can find more balance? And you can also notice the forest around you, the community around you, and the weaker ones and the stronger ones. And notice how this community is leaning against each other and how you might lean on others as a way of extending compassion for yourself. And how, just like these trees that don't take away anything from each other, and their roots are so connected that they sometimes die together, how can you strengthen and nourish your partnerships and friendships during these dark times? Ram Dass says, I see my life as an unfolding set of opportunities to awaken. I see my life as an unfolding set of opportunities to awaken. So you might sense what this means for you, how you, when you take your place in the world, just like this big old tree, grounded and open, how you can trust the unfolding of life and take everything that happens as an opportunity to awaken and to evolve. That concludes our practice for tonight. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for your practice. And I invite you to check in with yourself and notice how you're doing in these moments. What's the quality of your presence after this brief exploration and this brief meditation? And I'll invite you to share how you're doing in the chat, or if you're watching this video later, I'll invite you to share it down below in the comments. So every video we have been live streaming this past 12 days is on YouTube. You can go back to any of them that you missed. And tomorrow evening at the same time, 7:30 p.m. Paris time, we're going to be meeting again for another live stream. And the practice tomorrow night is going to be on the awareness side. So we will explore how to say yes to our lives and how to be more accepting of what is happening by this simple word, yes. Thank you so much. Be well, take care, and see you tomorrow evening.